Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to SMAX Integration Week. This is the second session that we are hosting this week on integrations. And I hope you could make it to the session yesterday, which was hosted by Philip and then Jan Stobe. We had a fantastic session on integration engine. Today, in case you have missed the session, the recording is available in the SMAX platform. Today, on the second day, I have my dear colleague, Richard Groff, who would be demonstrating to you integration of Amazon Connect with SMAX. The use case is to deliver a seamless customer experience through the cloud contact center and integrating with an ITSM platform. So with that, I think I do not want to waste time. I would right away hand over to Richard to get you started with this integration. And I guess the recording is on. So in case you miss, you would be able to see this offline. So with that, I hand over to Richard.
Good morning, good afternoon, and maybe even good evening. My name is Richard Korf, and I am the practice lead for service management automation in Asia Pacific. Today, I want to talk about integrating AWS Connect and SMAX to get a seamless customer experience. So the agenda today is we'll start with the description of the use case, what's involved, how does that scenario look like, followed by a high-level architecture. What kind of services are going to be used for this? We then go into a little bit of configuration steps of AWS services that we're going to be using, as well as the configuration of SMAX, followed by a short demo. And then we've got the gotchas, pitfalls, tips, and tricks that I've encountered during the creation of this integration. Lastly, we can look at some of the other use cases that you could look at implementing yourself. But first, the benefits. There are three main benefits of using an integration like this. The first one is a better personalized end-user experience, where users can be greeted by name based on a number of fields that you have identified. For example, the location, the preference, the VIP status, etc. The second one is to improve agent productivity. Normally, when an end user calls the service desk, the agent would need to ask for employee ID, phone number, ticket ID, the name, etc. In this case, a screen will automatically pop up at the agent side with the ticket opened, or if the user has not given any information, it would come up with an empty screen, an empty ticket for that particular user so they can start typing the new ticket. The third benefit is around call avoidance. So with some additional use cases that you could implement, for example, outage notification or creating standard requests, you can reduce the number of calls that are coming into the call center that need an agent to respond to it. All right, quick overview of the demo. So here's a user that is having a problem and they call the service desk. So as part of the caller ID, the phone number is being passed on to AWS Connect, which then does a REST API call into SMAX with that phone number, and SMAX will return the name and the VIP status of that user. With that information, the AWS Connect can customize the welcome message. So in this case, for example, hi, Richard, welcome. What's your ticket number? And then the user can respond with 31590. And because we also have retrieved the VIP status, the system will also be able to transfer that user to a priority queue. So that goes to the agent, and then the agent will automatically see a pop-up of the screen of that particular ticket that the user has given. So let's have a quick look at the architecture. The main thing that is being used over here is Amazon Connect, but we can see that there's also other services that are being used. For example, Amazon Lex to do the user interactions, to get some information from the user, as well as Amazon Lambda, which retrieves information from SMAX and passes it on to the call flow. And on the right side, you can see here there's an Amazon S3 bucket which hosts the Softphone, and we are using Amazon CloudFront to host that, so that the agent can log into the call center. So let's go a little bit more detailed into the configuration. So we have an Amazon Lexbot that is being used to request inputs from the end user during the call. So with that, you can create intents and associated phrases and utterances that the user may say. So in this case, we are asking the user for a ticket number. So some of the sample phrases could be, my ticket number is 12345, or it could just be 12345. And based on that, Amazon Lex will be able to extract that information and pass it back to the call flow. The second way of getting information is to use an external system. So in this case, we're using a Lambda function to do a data dip, which requests data using a REST API from SMAX. So we pass the phone number to SMAX and we'll ask what's the username and what's the VIP status of that user. And again, we're passing that information back into the call flow so that it can be used during the IVR session. The other thing that you would need to look at is to host your Amazon Connect Softphone. So it needs to be hosted somewhere so that the entry point, whenever the Softphone is trying to connect to AWS Connect, that is an approved domain. So what I've done here is that I've used CloudFront to present the files and an S3 bucket to host the files. But you could also host it on your own website. One of the things you would need to do is to make sure that you change the instance name in the Softphone HTML file. Then we're going to be configuring Amazon Connect. So Amazon Connect has two places where you can do configuration. One is on the AWS settings itself, which mostly deals with input and output. So for example, what are the functions that can be used from the call flow, as well as which domains are able to access that through the Softphone. So you can see here, this is within Amazon Connect. We've got the defining the allowable functions. So over here, we list the Lexbot and the Lambda function that the call flow will be able to use. You can have multiple Lexbots, you can have multiple Lambda functions as well. In this case, we only have one of each. The second one is to define the approved domain. So this is where the Softphone would be calling from into the AWS Connect service. And that allows basically or prevents external people from accessing that same system. Only from that particular domain would you be able to log in. So then we go to the business side of things, right? So this is where you define your call flows, your channels of communication, so your phone numbers, your hours of operations, your prompts, etc. In our case, we're only going to be using the create contact flows and creating a phone number or claiming a phone number. So here's the Amazon Connect call flow. It looks complicated, but it's not as complicated as it seems. What I've done here is I've highlighted which ones do what kind of functions. So you can see there's a couple of steps at the front which set the variables, which allows you to connect to the SMAX instance. Then the second part is to perform that actual data dip. So that's the actual REST API call. Then the next step is to get the user input, where we're asking for a ticket ID. Then the next three steps are dealing with the fact whether it's a VIP or not. And then at the bottom one, you can see there's some error handling happening if something goes wrong in each of these steps, where you could basically trace where the error came from. The last step on the right is the actual transfer. So that is where the call is being handed over from the call center to the Softphone of the agent. So as I mentioned, you need to set the variables where you need to make sure that you have your URL, your tenant ID, and the username and password that is going to be used to log into the SMAX instance. The other thing that you would need to do is to claim a phone number. So Amazon Connect has a number of phone numbers that you could use. They're in different countries. Now, some of those countries, you would need to specify a business address to verify that you are actually a valid user in that particular country. And so what you would need to do is to create a support ticket in AWS to verify that you are who you say you are and you live where you say that you live. So then we'll go on to the configuration on SMAX. So there are two things that you would need to make sure of. The first one is that you enable CTI. So as you can see here, we have to go to the SMAX administration, configuration, and then in application settings, you would have to enable CTI. The second thing is that you need to make sure that the phone numbers that are stored in SMAX have a country code, because the Lambda function as well as the call flow will pass the phone number with the country code in there. So if you don't have the country code, it will not match and it will not be able to find that user in either the REST API or the pop-up. All right, we're going to do a short demo. It's about 1.5 minutes long. So we start with a user that will be calling back to the service desk with an existing ticket because they need to provide some additional information.
Hi, Richard. Welcome to the SMAX Connect service desk. Please state your ticket number.
31918.
VIP priority has been activated. The first available agent will assist you. Your call may be monitored for quality purpose. Thank you for calling. Your call is very important to us and will be answered in the order it was received.
Hi, Richard. Welcome to the SMAX Connect service desk. This is Kim. Just to check with you, is this regarding your old laptop? Did you find the asset ID?
Yes, I did. The asset ID is HPPC0037.
Okay. I repeat, HPPC0037.
Yes, that's correct.
Thanks. I'll update the ticket and let the support team know. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, thank you.
Great. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so that was the demo. So we'll continue with the gotchas, the pitfalls, the tips, and the tricks. So these are some of the things that I've noticed during the implementation of this integration, and that could be useful for yourself as well. So there's a couple of things that you would need to take note of. So the first is in the call flow itself, you need to change the variables for the connection, so the URL, the login details, etc. for SMAX. Then for the Softphone, there's a couple of things. So the first one is to make sure that you've entered the domain of the Softphone in the approved domains. So that's on the AWS side of the Connect settings. The second one is that you have to make sure that you change the instance name in the Softphone HTML file. And then from a browser perspective, there's a couple of things that you would need to take note of. When the agent tries to log in, you need to make sure that it has the ability to do a pop-up for that site because it needs to authenticate itself to the AWS Connect. And there's a second one specifically for Firefox. They have something called enhanced tracking, and that sort of interferes with this setup. So you have to make sure that enhanced tracking for the domain that you're hosting your Softphone is switched off. And then for the AWS Connect configurations, make sure that you're looking at the right place if you need to make a change in the setting, either on the AWS side, which more deals with the input and output, or on the business side, more on the application side, where you would define your workflows, your phone numbers, users, and queues. All right, there's some other use cases that you could look at as well. First of all, you could do something like mentioning the existing tickets and then let users select them. So if a user has only 1 or 2 tickets, and in my experience, in most cases, user only has 1 ticket outstanding in general, you could list that ticket. You could ask them, it's like, is this the ticket that you're looking for? They can say yes, and then automatically it will connect them with that particular ticket without having to search for the actual ticket ID. A second use case could be to have automatic outage notifications for major outages. So normally when you have a major outage, you can create a news article for the self-service portal. But what you could do is to add something else to it and have a IVR message being popped up or being described there as well, so that that can be listed on the IVR and being spoken out to the user. Some other things that you could do there is you could let users subscribe to notifications on these outages. So that would allow people to say, yes, I want to have notification, and then they would get a notification whenever there's an update on that particular outage via email. And the last one is to create a standard request. So this is mostly for frequent, simple, standard requests that would normally require an agent to create a ticket for it. You could automatically create a service or a support request in the system and assign that to a team, or even better, let it automatically execute a fulfillment plan so that there's no agent intervention needed. All right, that's all I have. We'll provide the files that are needed to implement it. So the JavaScript for the data dip in Lambda, the call flow, as well as the Softphone, so that you can try it yourself as well. And with that, I'll hand it back for Q&A.
Great. That was a great demo, Richard. We do have one question. I'll just read that out. Are we able to utilize these features with GCP as well?
Yeah, so the functionality in SMAX to enable the CTI will basically work with any other call center solution that's able to do a pop-up URL, as well as the REST APIs. The REST APIs are open, so any system that would be able to do that to get that information to do a data dip would be able to use that as well. I'm not aware or not familiar with GCP call center solution. I don't know if they have one, but I know there are other solutions as well that could be utilized the same way.
Cool. Thank you, Richard. That was a great demo. I hope all of you enjoyed this demo. So let's just try to wrap up this session. If there is any other question, please feel free to put it into the question manager and we will pick it up. So as you know, alongside this integration week, we are also running the integration hackathon. It is still not late. If you have not registered, an integration hackathon will give you an opportunity to actually do some hands-on exercise or do hands-on integration with SMAX and a vendor ecosystems, so Jira or MS Teams or so on. So we do have people signed on, and we are having one-on-one sessions with them as they try to do this. And the whole idea is if you are a newbie, you get a practice. If you are already a pro, you get to set up an end-to-end integration and work with us closely so that we can package them, right? If you have not registered, all you can do is get to the SMAX Timber portal, and so when you get to the SMAX Timber portal, you have integration hackathon. Go there and just go ahead and register. I will pick up your registration. I'll touch base with you, and then we can we can work through this week to set up integration, or maybe you can get some hands-on with how you do integrations with SMAX. So with that, I think, is there any other question? No. If there isn't any other question, we can wrap up early and we can give back 10 minutes. Thank you very much.